Well, happy Thursday, and I hope it's a tremendous Thursday for you. It is for me. And it's the 7th of October. I've got a daughter that has a birthday today, by the way. And I won't tell how old she is because that gives you an idea how old I am. And boy, you probably already know. Anyway, good enough with that regard. I want to share with you a thought today, so come on into my little world and spend a few moments with me. I'm really glad that you're here and we'll share a few moments together. And hopefully it'll be a blessing to you, and it is for me to be able to just spend a little time with you. I was thinking about something that a dear friend Kevin Keenan, one of my elders, says from time to time and reminds us, and it's a good reminder that the former preacher here, and very dear friend Lindsay Warren, used to say, look for the good. You know, we can spend a lot of time finding the flaws, the things that are wrong, and point out and gripe about the things that are not going right in life and in general and in other people. That's pretty easy to do. But in all seriousness, look for the good. Look for the good in the middle of things. You know, Jesus said some things kind of like that, and the Apostle Paul really pressed it home. The 4th chapter of Philippians, in that challenging book, the 4th chapter of Philippians, he says, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, the 8th verse, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. In other words, look for the good. Fill your mind with the good things. That's really a blessing. With that in mind, kind of taking it a little divergent path. And I don't want to bore you to death with my dad, but he was kind of a special guy, and it's a different generation, I know. But I've thought about how many of the small pleasures in life were so important to him. Just to stop by home on his way somewhere and then say, son, come go with me. And I'd say, oh, I don't know. And then he'd say, yeah, come go with me, and we'll stop and we'll get a bottle of pop. And so we would go. And these are the days where there were not very many convenience stores around. Some of them were beginning, some small stores were out there. But generally, if you wanted to stop and get a bottle of pop, where'd you go? You went to the gas station. And we would sit out on the curb of a gas station, once using their machine and getting a bottle of pop. In those days, mostly a Dr. Pepper, sometimes something else. And I don't remember exactly what he drank. I think usually Dr. Pepper. So don't think bad of us. Anyway, but we would sit on the curb and we would drink those bottles of pop, and then we would turn them back in because you had to pay a deposit if you took the bottle with you. But anyway, we would sit and we would talk at a gas station on the curb right outside the gas station, and we would talk. He'd talk about the day and what we were doing. Sometimes he'd say, look and see that. And maybe it was just something happening, some bush, some plant, just that the sun was shining. And it was always a good day. Great memories for me. Maybe you had some of those with your own father or own parents. But I thought about Saturday afternoons. Quite often on a Saturday afternoon, he would come home. My dad, of course, being a preacher, he would record a little radio message that would be on the radio the next morning. And he would record it on his recorder in his office, and then he would take it to the radio station, and he would place it in a rack, and there whoever was going to play it would put it on for the next morning. But anyway, he would come by the house at home, and if we were there, and some of us, maybe my sisters, my mother, and I, and he'd say, I've got to go out to the radio station, which seemed like it was far, far away. It was kind of on the edge of town. But we'd say, sure, I'll go. And he'd say, and if we do, we'll stop at the root beer stand. I don't want to advertise for him, but Weber's Root Beer, which is still there, was on South Peoria in Tulsa, and it's still there. But they had a different stand there in those days, and you could pull up there and you'd order that frosty mug of root beer, and what a thrill that was. And my dad loved that. And sometimes along the way, we might just stop at a field, fly a kite, or just stop and watch the birds for a few moments. And sometimes if there was a turtle crossing the road, he'd let us stop and pick it up, take it home with us. Just simple little pleasures of life. Just to get in a car, take a drive, go out a few miles to the edge of town, deposit a tape for a radio sermon, and then return home. And if we were lucky, a root beer. Sometimes, I didn't mention that, sometimes it was even a root beer float. Yes, sir. Simple pleasures. I wonder how many of those we miss today. The Sunday afternoon drives, the stop at a gas station for a bottle of pop. No, we didn't live in Mayberry. It was just normal life. Just to spend a little time going out, not hung up on something on television or on a video game or anything. There were no cell phones. There was no Facebook. There was no texting, no worried about whether somebody was trying to get in touch with you. You were just out and away. Simple pleasures, simple life. And I know life may be a lot more complex now in terms of the technology and the things that go on, and how we do things today is very different, and that seems pretty archaic, primitive in the way that we did things then. I still think we need to find the simple pleasures. Not that we'll ever go back to where we were. No. We won't ever go back to where we were, but as Lindsay Warren said, let's look for the good today. Look for the simple pleasures in the day. Find them here. And isn't that what Paul was saying? Isn't that what Jesus tried to teach us in taking advantage of today? Not getting all hung up in tomorrow and what's coming down the road so much, but recognizing where we are today. And Paul's saying, think on these things. I think Lindsay had something. He had something special when he said, look for the good. And maybe we need to be reminded of that more often. Thank you, Kevin. We need to be reminded of that more often. Let's look for the good. Let's see what good is out there. Even in the midst of some of our most challenging times, look for the good. Somebody might call on the telephone. We answer the phone. Say, how are you today? Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank the Lord you're just still there. Look for the good. Today is a wonderful day. I hope it's a day that's a blessing to you. Look around you, see the family, the friends that you've got. Look at the people that you meet daily on a basis. You know, and quit worrying about so many of the things that aren't right, that aren't what we want them to be. And find the good in the things that are around us, and then we'll figure out what is right and what's good each day. Yeah, stop at the root beer stand, drive into the edge of town, a country, to deliver something, a tape to a radio station. May not be very much. But you know, when you get down the road, you start looking back, and you recognize those simple pleasures. Found the good in the day. Picnic in the park. Maybe we don't have time for that. A drive around. Maybe we don't want to spend the money on gasoline. It doesn't have to be those. Just find the good in the places, the people, and the events that are around you today. And as Paul says, think on those things. And I think you'll find your life has a lot more peace in it and a lot more pleasure as well. Hey, think on these things. I hope you're having a great day, and we'll look forward to sharing some more further down the road. But hey, thanks for being with me today. And I hope your life is filled with good things. Talk to you later.